do you want to start with, I guess, you are the spokesperson of the incumbent government at the union government. So do you want to say what the government's position is on delimitation, given that it has notified this exercise, and given that, despite acting in Annamalai, you sort of you speak for a party that sort of has disenfranchisement of your fellow brother in my home state to sort of, it probably doesn't matter to you. So what is your overall position on that?
Hi, a very good morning to everyone, to my esteemed panelist here. Nilankan, to start with, to make a little correction, I'm a member of BJP Executive Committee, National. I'm not the official spokesperson of the party. But yes, today I'm here representing my party. Well, to start with, I love the thing what the South First has written out there. South, North, East, West. Generally, it's not South, East, West, and it said putting South where it rightfully belongs, right at the top. So congrats to that. The thought was really nice. Okay, now coming to what we have been discussing about basically delimitation. All I would like to ask is, this is the constitutional mandatory amendment. Why is that we haven't been following? We have been talking about census. We have been talking about, it was postponed during the emergency, just before emergency. Then we have been talking about that again for 25 years. It has been frozen till 2026 by the Vajpayee government. What I would like to ask is, what is the fear, what are we scared of exercising the constitutional right?
Can I answer that?
Sorry?
Can I answer that question?
Yes.
Disenfranchisement, that is what?
Okay. You say that. First, I would like to say that the setup is a lot like women empowerment. We are talking about 4 men on stage with just 1 woman in the center. And it's more like one Congress on the side, on my right, and the Ally Party of India on my left, with John on this side. So it's like I'm right in the center, but coming to your answer, it's just that the fear what you all have. I think what Sashi was speaking, and Sashi set the mode of talking more as a Congress person rather than a very neutral person to give a keynote. I thought Sashi, I would have really appreciated had Sashi been on a very, very neutral note. But unfortunately, my friend did not. And another friend of mine, John Vito, is ready here to roast me what he's known for. I think we are just worried that it will be against the states which, according to the censor or according to the delimitation, they think that they will be punished. They will not be punished.
Can I let you know
yes.
a little? Okay. So, like you rightly said, the 2021 data I just want to correct her on a little thing, right? So, if the 2011 census is the last census for which we have the data for, if you were to use that and basically do a back of the envelope calculation, my home state of Tamil Nadu happens to lose the maximum in terms of the number of MPs it currently sends to Parliament. Assuming that the overall members of Parliament are maintained at constant as to what it is, it will lose somewhere between 7 and 8. Kerala is set to lose the next most, about 4 to 5. Karnataka the third most, right? About again 4 to 5. The point is that if these many people are losing their MPs, and it is a zero-sum game, right? Like, because at the end of the day, the Lok Sabha happens to have a set of MPs, and they all vote on bills. And if my representative is not empowered enough to vote on those bills, I lose out on my voice, and that is called disenfranchisement, and that is the reason why we have this.
I completely understand. I belong to Tamil Nadu. We have 39 parliamentary seats. And the fear that we are going to lose it, what we, even Shashi spoke about, whether it was about Jammu and Kashmir, where there was 7 parliamentary seats, which they have gained, with 6 went to Jammu and 1 to Kashmir. Assam, it has just remained the same. There's absolutely no changes in Assam. I'm saying we need to look into it.
Assam, so just to correct you, Mr. Sundar, see, Assam has a replacement level and above replacement level fertility rate. That's a different issue, right?
Nilankantan, I didn't see you interfering when Shashi spoke or anybody else speak. So I think you should allow me to speak.
I just want to make sure we are on the same page in terms
yes,
of the
we
critical
are.
issue,
And
right?
I think, it's very easy. We are not here to argue. I think we are just here to share our thoughts, what we think. And you raised a question, and I should be allowed to answer that. So I think it's just the basic fear. If you want me to speak as a BJP person, then I would say that Congress has been in power for maximum number of years, and the amount of misleading what we have seen, what the kind of growth we have seen in the country. Yes, I'm not saying that as an Indian we haven't seen any growth during the Congress regime. We have. I think we had seen some fantastic growth during the time of Indira Gandhi, and of course we saw the what you said, the digital revolution when Mr. Rajeev Gandhi was in power. But apart from that, I think, the basic policy of Congress, and I say this because I have been part of Congress for 6 long years, and I say the basic policy or the motto of the Congress has been that postpone now, worry later. And that is the policy we see even now. The kind of speeches what Mr. Rahul Gandhi says, I don't think it makes sense at all. I mean, his own words come back biting him or troubling him. And I think delimitation is something which is completely fine for this country, because this is what we need to exercise now. We are even talking about women reservation, which is exercised along with this, which is combined with this. And I think if women reservation bill needs to come into act, we have to take it forward. We have to take it forward. 2026 is when we are talking about. Census could have been done in 2021, but because of COVID, we were not able to do that. And it's for everyone to see. So I think delimitation is just a fear. We don't say it. It was the American think tank which said in 2019, Carnegie said that in 2026, they see the parliamentary seats, the parliamentary strength at 846. And this was not BJP who was speaking about. We spoke about American Senate, what Rajeev said. And I think we need to understand that when the world is looking at us and saying that we are moving forward, why are we finding ways to stop ourselves from moving forward? It's about the states. Yes, it cannot be delimitation, cannot be just settled on or based on the population part. We have been looking at, and the current government, the Prime Minister, is working on it, where the delimitation is not going to be only on the population aspect. And that is one thing, that one fear, which is among every political party. And I think we need to understand that we are moving forward. And yes, when you move forward, you have to take a step back to take the giant leap. But then the giant leap is extremely important for us. It's not now, but a long-term vision. It's not a short vision. It's a long-term vision which we have, and we think that delimitation has to move forward. It has to come into act. Secondly, I think we have been talking about one nation, one election. This was the norm before emergency. This was there. This was there.
No, it wasn't.
No, it was. We had one election.
No.
One nation, but we had one election. We had it came later.
Ms. Sundar, the only time we had one nation, one election was the first election of independent India. After that, we have not had that.
Yeah, why didn't we have that?
Because reality intervenes. It's called governments get dismissed, MLAs die,
And
MPs
who was in
die.
government?
Like, it is irrelevant. That is the nature of government.
I think we need to understand. See, we need to move forward. We need to move forward. We just cannot. We talk about moving forward. We're talking about we need to change. We need to bring in new amendments. We need to bring laws. The constitutional laws has to be changed. We're talking about everything else. But when it comes to certain things where the country has to move forward, we always love to fall back because the current government does not speak the language you want to hear. We love the democracy, and India has the largest democracy, and we say that when the current government does not speak the language you want to hear, then I need to fall back on what was the previous regime and what was right for you. I think,
Ms. Sundar, let me just make sure we are understanding what. Okay. No, I just want to make sure for the audience, I have this one nation, one election clarified, right? We did have that the first time we ever had an election in independent India. After that, we did not. And the reason for that is pretty obvious, which is that unless you have an Italian-style system, wherein once you elect a legislature, the legislature gets elected. You don't elect governments, right? Like that is the model in Italy. Whereas in India and in most other democracies, the point is that we elect our representatives, and if the government of the day gets dismissed and no new government is formed, then we have repeat elections. That's the point of a democracy. And ever since 1951, we have had this process. And emergency was like, had nothing to do with one nation, one election.
I completely understand. I'm not here in Telangana without doing my history or without doing my work representing my party. I'm saying that when you have a particular mindset, you don't want to move forward. And we see that, unfortunately. And that is what I said, that at the very onset, that Shashi set a tone when he went. I thought he will speak in a very, very neutral manner, but it unfortunately didn't happen that way. Now, let us not discuss about BJP versus Congress. It is not the platform to discuss BJP versus Congress. I think the platform is more about how we take the country forward. And in today's times, when we are talking about democracy and India being the largest democracy, I think we need to stand together and say, how do we move forward? Like I have said, delimitation cannot be based on population alone. There are other issues which needs to be included, we need to discuss. It's 2016, we have to start the dialogue. We have just uttered the first word, delimitation, and then you see there are people from different parts and the Alliance of India coming together and saying that where the BJP is not ruling, then they have their own issues. Again, I'm saying, it's not about population alone. There are other issues which needs to be looked into. There are other issues which needs to be addressed, and only then we'll be moving forward. So rather than staying or living in fear that I'm going to be left out, I think we all need to come together. Tamil Nadu, I belong to Tamil Nadu, you belong to Tamil Nadu. We have to understand Tamil Nadu is the focal point. Tamil Nadu and Prime Minister has been extremely sentimental about Tamil Nadu. He has extra soft corner for Tamil Nadu. I think we all need to come together and say that if this is the way forward, we have to move forward. We have to understand each other and say that let's join hands. Politically, we might have different stance. Politically, we have different ideas. And I completely agree that all of us here, we do not share the same political ideas, we do not share the same mindset, and that is the greatest beauty of democracy of a country. But we need to understand if this nation needs to come forward, if nation needs to move forward, we need to understand how are we going to take forward.
All right, thank you, Ms. Sundar. All right, John Brittas, so let's get back to two things, right? One is delimitation. Your home state of Kerala is, in terms of absolute...
Mic is working? My hands are full, actually, with the response from Khushbu.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah. So, even without your intervention, I think I can sufficiently respond to that. I'm finding it extremely difficult to...
Can I just ask you, before you respond to her, I just want your, your party, your state, your general sort of disposition to this idea of delimitation and the...
I would say,
yes.
Very good, thank you. I'm finding it extremely difficult to have an argument with such a beautiful woman, Khushbu, whom I admire. But it's my predicament today. But whatever I am going to speak, all those things would have been spoken by her a couple of years back. Do you understand what I meant?
Completely.
Yeah, completely. And at the outset, since the executive editor of South First introduced me as a journalist also, apart from being a member of parliament, let me express my solidarity with the organization called NewsClick, on which there has been a crackdown and a clampdown. And such bogus charges have been made on an organization. As a journalist, I firmly believe that a democracy can survive only if there is a free and independent media. Without a free media, you can't even envisage a democratic process in this country. And when Khushbu asked, what are your fears? These are precisely our fears. Whatever happening in this country are my fears. Ma'am, let us see what has been the way in which the political, administrative, the economic paradigm of center-state relations have been defined now. We all talk about, every southern state, there's an economist sitting there, and he should be knowing better than me or anyone what's happening in the government of India. His book is very famous. See, Kerala contributes 1 rupee to the national kitty and gets back 25 paise. And that is applicable to almost all the southern states. 45 paise, 47 paise, you get back. Now, if you have adopted such a measure on the basis of population, with regard to the center-state relations, we have our fears on this too. That is my point. The first time Prime Minister opened his mouth and said, southern states may lose 100 seats. He did say so. Where did he get the figure 100 seats? Who did work out 100 seats? What was the premise on which he made this statement? Was he actually threatening the southern states by making such a statement? And you know, ma'am, how the Prime Minister conducts himself. See, you talked about 2001 when this delimitation process was undertaken and the seats were frozen. I was a journalist covering Indian Parliament from the gallery. I could see the extent of discourse that was happening amongst the political parties and the leaders, the consensus that was built up. Arun Jaitley mooted the bill. I remember vividly that. Do you see a consensus, a climate of consensus in this country now? Absolutely no. There are two zones in this country. You know what are the two zones? One is ED affected country and ED unaffected country. The country has been divided like that now. So how are we going to trust you? And your device now is like shock and awe. Can you ever imagine a parliamentary agenda is being decided in a secret way? You don't even dwell about the agenda which is to be taken place in the parliament. We'll have to come to the parliament to see the supplementary agenda. Is it a hide and seek game? Is opposition a Pakistan? That you need to hide everything from opposition? Are we not part of this democratic process? And you know what is being done with regard to the duties and surcharges. I asked a question to the finance minister. Mr. Nilankantan, you would be surprised. You should add that point also. In 1 year, this government collected 7 lakh crore as duties and surcharges, which need not be given to the states. Further, you demolished all the institutions in this country. Planning Commission, all these formulas were given away. Now what is happening? There's a monarchy in this country. The Prime Minister goes to the poll-bound states and declares bonanza, a package of 15,000 crore. Is it not a democracy? Is it an oligarchy or a monarchy that is happening? Of course, you have brought the Shangol and kept it there. So it's almost like a monarchy now. You need to have a Simhasan and a Raja and some palace, Jyotish, and clowns also there. If you have these clowns, Jyotish, Simhasan, you'll complete this, the circle which you have started. Madam, I'm telling you, I really want you to be in parliament. But this is the sad predicament of this nation. And still you are asking us, why are you afraid? We are afraid. These are the way in which you are conducting the affairs. Ma'am, in last 9 years, you have usurped in the powers of the states. Literally, you have taken over the state list. Just think about, Mr. Nilankantan, your book, I have read it. I would have wished that you should have talked about the lockdown, clampdown on COVID. In 4 hours, without consulting the state governments, you took over public health from the states. It's like having power without responsibility. You do all these things, but we will manage everything. Can you ever imagine in such a country with such huge, rich diversity, somebody sitting in Delhi, taking over the entire nation? Crores of people were left on the roads. Many died, perished. My fear as a Malayali, I will tell you, madam, I'm an Indian as much as a Malayali. I don't want to forfeit my identity as a Malayali. I want to hold on to it. My problem with this government is that you perform and you perish. There's no formula. Perform and perish. Earlier we used to have perform and excel. Sir, you have been a honorable judge. Even the Supreme Court. See, the constitutional provision has been completely distorted. On a fine day, you can convert a state into a union territory. Did the constitutional makers ever envisage? Sir, thank God, sir, the deterioration happening. So tomorrow, Khushbu madam, if somebody is sitting in Delhi decides to, convert Tamil Nadu as a union territory, will you allow that? Will you allow that?
Sir,
that is precisely
there's
happened.
a group in Tamil Nadu which has been saying that we need Tamil Nadu as a separate entity altogether.
Ma'am, I will tell you one thing.
Yeah, it's your alliance who's been saying that.
No, I will tell you one thing. If I quote from the speech
Can
of...
I just
I will complete
respond
1
to her
second. 1 second. I'm a parliamentarian, so I will just... If I quote the speech of Annaduri, which he made in Rajya Sabha, maybe in 1962, April, you should read, ma'am. He even talked about Northern imperialism and talked about self-determination. If I speak now that, you will put me behind the bars. You will tell I am an anti-national.
Ms. Sundar, I just want to make sure that we are on the same page here one more time, because you were part of the DMK. The DMK's founder, C.N. Annadurai, spoke in the Rajya Sabha saying that the reason why we are Tamil and part of India is a political arrangement, right? And that we are Tamil first. And, you had no compunction when you joined the DMK. And now to argue that that is somehow treasonous is...
That is normal in politics, okay, don't worry about that.
No, it's not politics. It's not normal in politics. I think you...
No, you were a spokesman of DMK,
I was never a
Congress.
spokesperson of DMK.
In that sense, what he's saying that, echoing the same ethos.
I was a spokesperson of National Congress.
Yeah, correct.
National spokesperson of the Congress.
Alliance
I am
part not DMK.
Yeah, your alliance.
The point
Now-
is, okay, let's move on, right? So I just want to make sure that we are all aware of, coming back to delimitation, I want to sort of tell you what the impact is as the two politicians have sort of tried to explain this in their own ways. I guess most of you live in some constituency which is in southern India. So I'd encourage all of you to go home, take out the Election Commission's website, look at the number of voters that your particular constituency, the parliamentary constituency, has. Right? Assume it's a two-party contest, right? If you're in Karnataka, assume, JDS, but assume it's a Congress versus BJP contest. If it's me, I'm going to assume it's a DMK versus ADMK contest, wherever it is. For simplicity of calculation, let's assume it's a two-party contest, right? Now, if you go home, do this, and you basically calculate the probability of your vote impacting the election of your MP, right? It's a basic college level problem. It's a kind of a binomial distribution. You can go up, brush up on binomial distribution, calculate the probability. You will, if you are in Karnataka or in Tamil Nadu or in Kerala or in Telangana, essentially that probability comes to somewhere around 1 by 1,100, right? I did this for my book, but do it for your constituency. I did it for South Madras, which happens to be my constituency, and I picked a random constituency, somewhere in what is the Indo-Gangetic Plains. I picked this constituency called Guna, which happens to be in Madhya Pradesh, right? So if you take that, and if you calculate the similar probability of individual voters' vote impacting the election of their MP, you will find out that the person in South Madras is 40% more powerful than the person in Guna, right? Now, why does this happen? This is the basic problem of delimitation, right? Like, why is it that in the same country, I, as a citizen, am 40% more powerful in electing my MP vis-a-vis the person in Guna? if I am a child of enlightenment, I do not want this to happen, regardless of however much my sort of, Tamil roots want me to retain this advantage, right? It is that we want to live in an egalitarian society where everybody is kind of equal. However, it is the reason why this 40% disparity exists is the fundamental problem that our country faces, which is that this is a reflection of governance in the past 40, 50 years. Why is it that, I have a 40% advantage? It's because the population happens to be a reflection of health, of education, and of economic opportunity. This isn't, I'm not telling you this. This is, established research, which is that you send girls to school, they find a job, and as they get, higher chances of employment, their fertility drops, and therefore the population drops. And what you have in return is kind of a multiplier effect, and therefore that reflects in your ability to elect your MP. The question here is, are we now to sacrifice that advantage of the last half century in my power of an additional 40% because we want to believe in an egalitarian society, of a society that we do not control, but worse, they want to control us? That is the basic question.
Mr.
Right?
Nilankantan, I think you're forced in reading the entire script. You talk about, you talk about one person, one vote. That's purely technical. First of all, this is a federation. And further, you are not the persons who talk about one person, one vote are least bothered about disenfranchisement of 20 crores people in this country. Did you understand what I said? 20 crores Muslims do not have a representation in the executive, or legislature, or judiciary, or media, or bureaucracy. You have absolutely no problem with that. So when you talk about the 40% weightage, you should talk about the 100% depreciation that has happened with 20 crores people in this country. Why are you not discussing about that? See, the first Nehru government, we had Maulana Azad, Rafiq Dawai Ahmad, you had Ambedkar, you had a Parsi, you had a Christian. Now, that time it was 15 ministers or 20 ministers. Now in this present dispensation, do you have a Muslim minister there? Why are we not talking about that? Khushbu, madam, you should talk about that.
Let me talk about that. How many times we have seen OBC becoming the Prime Minister of the country? Why nobody speaks about that? Why do you not speak about that? OBC Prime Minister, when Draupadi Murmu from a tribal, she is made the President of the country, you have your Indian Congress Committee and your India Alliance saying that you have weaker sex women being there.
Thank you.
Why is that you're saying that, and why is it you're... Please tell me, Mr. John Britto, please tell me, what is the population of minorities in the country? What is the population of minorities?
I will respond to you. Thank you very much to remind me.
Please tell me my question. What is the minority?
I am going to respond.
19.3%, if you do not know, 19.3%, and Nilankantan, you also come from Tamil Nadu. Let us see what is the minority population of Tamil Nadu.
Khushbu ma'am.
What is the... One sec. What is the minority population of Tamil Nadu?
No, let me...
5.8%.
Not true.
Yes, please go through it. 5.8% is a minority population.
Madam.
And when we were talking about Hindi,
Madam, that's not true.
let me remind you, in 2021, Karnataka had 66,000 people applying to learn Hindi, whereas Tamil Nadu, where they say that the Hindi imposition, you had 220,000 people applying to learn Hindi. Please go through it. It cannot be a one-way traffic. When it is a one-way traffic, it is anti-democracy. It has to be a two-way traffic. This country will function only when there's a two-way traffic and not a one-way traffic. And Mr. John Britto, when you were talking about ED, please let me remind you, and also my couple of friends who clapped because you found it very amusing, when the Congress was in power, DMK was in alliance with you, A. Rayja and Kanimori were arrested, there was ED. And then they did not speak that how come the ED was working against the system. They were owning up, Congress was owning up ED and going on saying that there were ED everywhere. The raids were happening.
Ms. Sundar, we'll get back to the...
He asked me something, he raised some political question.
I'm the boss here.
So you're not the boss. You're the moderator.
I'm totally the boss here.
So I need to answer when he raises a question, I need to answer.
We'll get back to delimitation, please. We'll get back to delimitation.
1 second.
So we didn't stick to it. He went somewhere else. I had to respond to that.
See, I'm very glad that she reminded about the Prime Minister from backward community. No,
Ms. Brittas, let me
I
make...
crave
No,
for
no,
one-
no,
one-
listen,
one
listen,
second.
listen.
No.
Again,
This is
I'm the
what
boss.
happens.
If I'm her boss, I'm also your boss.
becomes-
Listen.
BJP
Sir,
versus
sir,
Congress
you have
or anything else.
Devagowda, who was the first backward Prime Minister. It's not Narendra Modi.
Yeah.
You are Charan Singh.
Politicians on the stage.
JP Nada spoke in Parliament saying that we gave the first backward Prime
I know
Minister.
you guys are not
Absolutely
allowed
wrong.
to speak in Parliament, but please, wait. Okay, all right, listen. Let's get back to delimitation, because who gets voted in is irrelevant to the idea of delimitation. We do not, like, tomorrow I might even vote for the BJP. That is irrelevant. The point here is that how much is our vote worth? That is the question here. And, your discussions on what happens after we elect and what those people enact as policy is beside the point. So I just want to make sure that we are here, good here.